Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's Otaku Heaven coming at you with another manga chapter review. Today it'll be a double chapter review for Black Clover chapters 28 and 29. I've been pretty busy with school, so I haven't had time to get around to it. But anyway, we resume where we left off on the last chapter, except it cuts back to the castle this time. We get to see the cook basically saying that he needs to get stuff together, that he wants to provide the best meal he can for the Magic Knights. And he's like, don't you know the Magic Knight stepped out? And the hungry chick from the Black Bull, the one that's always eating the sweets and stuff, was like, it would be an honor if I could eat your meal. And then had these teary eyes and stuff. He's like, that's enough to keep me going right there. And it re-sparked my flame, so he started cooking again. Then we got to cut back to some of what's going on in the city. And they've pretty much taken out all of the little mana people that the dude created. Basically, they were just a diversion, and they realized that fairly quickly. And then Saul from the Blue Roses basically said that this is what you get for trying to touch the master. The only one that could touch the master is girls from the Blue Rose. And the master's like, people are gonna take that the wrong way if you don't specify. And then all of a sudden, a black portal came out from under all of the Magic Knight's feet that were there, except for Aster and Noel. But it's basically teleported all the Magic Knights away, and we got to see a new person appear. It's a pretty witch, is what they called her in the manga. But basically, she starts off asking for young mana and starts sucking mana out of every person in her vicinity until she sees a really good-looking man, and she asked, "What do you think of me? And aren't I pretty?" And he goes, "No, you're a beast." Well, and basically something along those lines. He says, how could you do something beastly like this?" And then she kills the man for calling her a beast, basically. But Juno didn't get teleported. We get to see it cut back to her, and Pretty Witch was like, "You just like my type, Juno." And then Juno goes, "Get away from me, you old hag." And then they go to start the fight. Cuts off right there until we get into chapter 29, where we get to see some of the Pretty Witch's power. The Pretty Witch is fairly angry because Juno called her an old hag, and starts playing a game with him, what she calls the game of mystery bullets. Each bullet contains a curse, and they're basically keeping Juno off of his feet. Basically, Juno barely has time to dodge everything. She's sending them in pretty fast, and we get to see what the king has to say about the whole scenario. As far as we've known so far, the Sorcerer Emperor was the highest person in the kingdom, but apparently there's a king above the Sorcerer Emperor, and the Sorcerer Emperor has basically stepped out. He was being careless, and the king's like, "Isn't it the Sorcerer Emperor's job to protect the king in one of these dire times of need like this?" Um, and then we get to see a little screen cap of the basically the Sorcerer Emperor walking away, like, "If anything happens, take care of it. I'm out." Maybe he predicted it, dipped out. Maybe not. I don't know. But anyway, we got to go back to the fight between Juno and the Pretty Witch, and Juno's recognizing that her mana well is pretty deep. So the mana well is essentially just like the amount of mana a person has. And one of her powers that actually managed to hit Juno, I don't know if it hit him like off of the blast radius or something, because I didn't see anything actually hit him. But anyway, it was a sensation inflation is what she called it. Basically, it takes away all of your senses one by one rather quickly, but slowly to the person who's actually getting it. It feels like it's really slow that it's happening, but it actually happens really fast in real time. Anyway, Juno's book acts of its own accord when it wants to. Basically, it won't give Juno the time of day. It actually explains why Juno is so powerful. Basically, Juno did not dodge the teleportation spell that hit everyone else. Juno's book used its power to dodge the teleportation spell for Juno, and suddenly all of his sensory started going away from the sensation deflation, and he's basically blind. He can't hear anything barely, and then no power awakened. Basically, he was able to see the flow of mana, which looked like a bird, which reminded me similar to the Ryuks. I think that's what they called them from Magi. If you've ever seen Magi. Um, and anyway, then we got to see a cut of what wind spellcasters actually are. They specialize in sensory perception. So, with all of his sensory perception gone, and he's got to focus really hard because all five of his senses have diminished greatly, almost to the point of non-existent. He's increased his power increases after he manages to see the Ryuk basically. Um, he gets a new power, a power that we've seen a glimpse at some foreshadowing in the dungeon where the Sylph appeared. Well, anyway, the Sylph's back again, and Juno unlocks a new power in his book that's called the Sylph style Wind Breath, but which the Sylph style is basically my assumption is anything that the Sylph does when she comes out, and this is just a Wind Breath iteration of that attack. But overall, I think it was a bit of a cop out that Juno was just able to get a new power and knock out this Pretty Witch because I actually thought the Pretty Witch was going to be a fairly important character and still could be later on, but I actually like the style of the character, all with the exception of the way that the men treated her. But the you know she's destroyed a village. You can't really expect that because I felt like that she would be treated a whole lot better because she came out as a one of the more cuter characters like Noelle is rather than like the little chick that's eating and stuff. I felt like she would have had a big following in the manga if she would have actually been a more prevalent character. But anyhow, we got to see Juno can't really control his power, and the only person he doesn't want to lose to is Asta. He basically came out at the end and said that I won't lose to anybody except to Asta, and that's the person that I will fight, to be the Sorcerer Emperor with. If I lose before then that's not something I intended to do. The only person he intends to lose to is Asta if he intends to lose at all, which he doesn't, but if it happens, that's the only person he'd be okay with losing to, is basically what he's saying. Overall, I think I'm going to give chapter 28 like a 6 out of 10 because we didn't really get much out of it. We just got character introduction and the plot progression of, you know, just all the Magic Knights going away except for Juno. In chapter 29, we got a lot of character progression with Juno and we got some plot progression. So I'm going to give this chapter a 9 out of 10 because it was pretty badass. And I know once it gets animated in like the show, it's going to be extremely badass because that Sylph just popping up out of nowhere and him being able to use that new power, it's going to be badass. And the game Mystery Bullets the Pretty Witch had, that is going to be epic. Because somebody as powerful as it's hard to keep, backed against a wall to where he can't really have any time to do anything. And then all of a sudden, this new power awakens and all this mana is flowing around him to create this Sylph that has an amazing amount of power. But overall, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 because we got a good bit of character progression and plot progression, which you don't really see in too many manga every chapter. So when the chapter comes out that has everything that you need, I really enjoy that. That's all, guys. Peace.